Ronnie made me feel like more of a man than most women have ever made me feel. I don't mean that in a, kind of way. I mean that in a manly way.
Ronnie really makes you believe in yourself.
Ronnie's slogan is, do your best and then take a big rest. Done.
By taking our, what are considered mundane activities in modern society, unlocking your car, or maybe that last shave stroke that you might need, or a tough one, opening those bag of chips just right so that you don't over-accentuate any muscles, nor do you break the bag and lose valuable carbs all over the floor.
My girlfriend said she wasn't turned on to me anymore. She said I wasn't warm and cuddly enough. And then she left me for a comic book writer.
Donut up. Now control drop into your face.
I used to go about my day spending tens, even hundreds of calories doing just regular daily activities like lying down, brushing my teeth, reading a book. Now with the Slob 90X program, I can do these things in a lazy, almost catatonic way. Couch Body.
All right, everybody, welcome to Interview Friday. This is Joel Marshall. This is Lunch Therapy. Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy. It's called Joel Marshall's Lunch Therapy because Marty Krofft told me, Joel, you got to put your name above the title. So, I'm doing it. You know who he learned that from? He learned it from Walt Disney. So, there you have it. Today, I'm out in the mountains trying to cool off. So glad to see everybody here. That was a commercial from Slob 90X. You might have seen that before. That's our sponsor today, Slob 90X. It stands for Slow, Lazy, Ordinary Body. You can get your shirts, your Slob 90X shirts, wherever shirts are sold. So anyway, I'm so excited today. We've got Kim Delgado on. He's an accomplished actor. He's somebody that started out with Lee Strasberg, who's like arguably one of the greatest acting teachers who ever lived. He started out acting with him and has been going ever since, doing stage, screen, television, over 200 television shows. You'll recognize his face. So I'm excited he's here in the green room. And we are going to be talking about surviving as an artist. We're going to talk about thriving as an artist. We are going to talk about writing, producing, pitching, whatever the heck we can talk about to get things moving for all of us. So there's going to be a lot of really good information and hopefully some laughs. If there are no laughs in the show, please chat some funny jokes for us because we always love that. We had some really good ones on Tuesday. I mentioned the Slob 90X because on this coming Tuesday, we're going to have a little bit of a surprise related to Slob 90X. That's a little teaser for you. But let's get into the show. This is Lunch Therapy, and we like to say hoy instead of hi. We like to call ourselves the hummingbirds, and we also like modems. If anybody knows what that is. You're talking on one right now. See you in the show. All right, I had these waves from Tuesday. They're going to be coming up. Everybody seemed to really like them. And just after that, we showed the waves. All of a sudden, the show cut out. And there was, some kind of weird thing. So if that happens today, please bear with us. That's the internet's for you. I have a love-hate relationship with my modem. Moody modem. Exactly. That was what I was having. I got a modem. Just Jay Comedian. I want to point out Just Jay Comedian just recently became a Patreon of the show. You can go to patreon.com/Joel Marshall and become... Oh, here comes a huge one. Yeah, patreon.com/ Joel Marshall, and you can become a Patreon on the show. You can donate, like $2 a month or whatever you want to do. And it really helps out the show. As you can tell, we get beautiful views. We get wonderful, all kinds of different things on the show, but it costs money. What can you do? So now we're going to breathe. At the top of the show, we take in a huge breath into the lungs. I can hear some breathing going on in the green room. This is great. Boney and Kim are breathing in the breathing room. Boney, of course, is my sidekick. He is a skeleton with a great sense of humor. He's got a very large, massive funny bone. In through the nose, out through the toes. Here we go. Hold it. Yes, I think the internet is getting overheated. They didn't know that the world would get so hot when they made the internet. Let it go. It's sort of like Y2K. If you want to laugh, ask people what Y2K is, especially people younger than you. They won't know what I'm talking about. Remember when that was a thing? In through the nose, out through the toes. Hold it. Let it go. If it were a dog, it would be panting. Hell, even the cats are panting. This is great because we're continuing our How Hot Is It joke tradition from last Tuesday. Everyone needs to be a Patreon. Yes, Patreon. Patreon. I think there's even a link on the YouTube video, like in the lower right. I don't know. What do I know? I should know these things. What did Chuck say? Modem overload. Yeah, total overload. Who knows? We might overload today because look, I've got a wonderful handpan player that's going to get us into the interview here. His name is Yateo, and he's with Phoenix, and they are playing the handpan and the didgeridoo. I don't know if you all know the didgeridoo, but the didgeridoo is that big, long instrument that Phoenix has there. And it's it's a wind percussive instrument, I think. Tao is a master at the handpan. I don't know. I mean, if you've watched this show, you know the handpan because we discovered it. We are the discoverers of the handpan here on the show. If I were a fish, I'd be sharing. That's Vernis Clear. She's one of the first women, maybe the first. I think the first woman to graduate from Clown College. She's a marvelous acting coach, Vernis Clear. And if she were a fish, she'd be sharing. Oh my God, Y2K, my hubby and I went to Colorado for the collapse of the universe. We don't need to explain it. I guess we do. Joel, were you doing IT work in 1999? Probably was. And I didn't know what to do. Apparently that the year 2000 was going to flip over and all the computers were not ready for it. They did not consider that there would ever be a year 2000. So the whole internet was going to break. All the banks were going to break. We were not going to have anything. Good thing there's this soothing music behind me while I talk about that traumatic incident Y2K. Be sharking. Yeah, we love sharks on the show. None of us have been bitten by them. But that would be kind of rare. Because more people slip in the bathtub than are bitten by sharks every year. And also, we kill millions of sharks every year. So they have a right to bite us. All right. So thank you, Yatao and Phoenix, for being in the background. Let's do one more breath and we're going to get into the interview. Hold it. Let it go. Kim is from Brooklyn. You know, it's weird. The older I get, or the more people I meet, the more people I realize are from Brooklyn. Brooklyn is like it's like it's like a country or something. Everybody seems to be from Brooklyn. Either that, or Brooklyn has some kind of special thing in the water that makes actors and directors and producers and writers and all these people and comedians. We had Maya DeGiorgio. Maya DeGiorgio is also from Brooklyn. I mean, I could go on and on. My wife is from Brooklyn. Kamala. Everybody's from Brooklyn. We'll have to ask Kim about that. All right, let's get into the show. It's Interview Friday. The music was loud, wasn't it? Yeah. I don't know. Boney, come on. Boney didn't even have his headset on. He had one of those virtual reality things on. I don't even know if he can hear the show. Come on, Boney. Come on. All right, let's get into the show. It's Kim Delgado, Interview Friday. Mom is from Brooklyn. See? Howard's mom is from Brooklyn. It must be enormous, Brooklyn, to hold all these people. And everybody must be performing constantly. All right, here we go. Wow. That was you as a judge. You look pretty formidable there, Kim, as a judge.
Yes. Judge Howard Walker. Hey, a big shout out to your international audience. I want to say hoya to everybody. Namaste. I hope everybody's doing well, and I look forward to imparting whatever information may be laying on the top of this Beano up here.
Oh, it's going to be so good. I'm so looking forward to this. Howard's mom is from Brooklyn. Adam Lieblein is here.
Adam Lieblein
Kim knows
here,
Adam.
my former agent, fantastic agent, one of the best agents I've ever had.
He is currently my commercial agent. So there you go. Passing the torch. Great to see you, Adam.
Last
Thanks
time
for
I
stopping
saw
by.
Adam
Yeah.
I was riding the bike at the gym.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I look next seat, Adam Lieblein. I was like,
No
oh,
way.
wow.
He's everywhere.
Everywhere.
He's everywhere. He's also, what's great about it is he has a lot of comedians like myself who are clients of his, and then he's doing shows at the Improv and Flappers, and he hosts them, and then all these incredible performers perform. So, I mean, he's just got an incredible lineup of comedic talent, a deep bench is what it is. It's a deep bench. Speaking of a deep bench, I want to start with you. I want to ask you, because this is something that is fascinating to me, and I think maybe some of our people out there. Lee Strasberg. You started out with Lee Strasberg as your teacher?
Well, what happened was I was studying at the Leonard Davis Center for the Performing Arts, and I actually had, in my opinion, the greatest acting coach on the planet. Her name is Sandra Seacat.
Sandra Seacat, another famous acting teacher.
She can see right into your soul.
Really?
In my class was Roma Mafia, Lionel Pina, Cheryl Francis Harrington, Keenan Shimizu. We had a lot of working actors that came out of the class that we had. Crystal Lilly. A lot of people did theater, and then they went on to do TV and film. I studied at the Davis Center, and when I graduated actually in 4 years, but I took a semester off to do To Kill a Cop. That was the
what?
NBC.
What's that?
Well, To Kill a Cop was a 4-hour, 2-part special that became iShot, the television series with Joe Don Baker. Oh. And I played Eartha Kitt's brother, and I was
Eartha
one of Lou
Kitt.
Gossett.
Wow.
Eartha Kitt, yeah.
That's cool.
And this was in 1978, and I was in my senior year. I had to take the semester off, double up, and then I graduated on time that year in 79. And then I auditioned through Barbara Clayman at that time. Was auditioning for Boardwalk.
Barbara Clayman. Yeah, she was. I remember her. She was.
That was a long time ago.
Barbara Clayman. She was like an incredible casting director that was just so prolific.
She was.
Yeah.
And in that film that I got cast in Boardwalk, it was Lee Strasberg, Ruth Gordon, Eli Wallach, Forbes E. Russell, Linda Mance, who was in Days of Heaven. She was very good in that, and Joe Silver. So it was a great opening salvo to start my career, starring with some of the greatest icons that had ever.
I love Eli Wallach. Eli Wallach was one of the greats. I mean, he was Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Yeah. He was so, but that was like totally out of character for him. You know, I mean, he was such a prolific actor, and but yeah, he could do anything. Could do anything.
An exceptional talent. So
Yeah.
I started auditioning my last year of college. I said, well, my parents aren't going to be footing the bill forever. I'm in school. I better start getting ready to get to be a professional actor.
Yeah.
And I got some agents. The summer I was a junior. I was going to be a senior that year. And in New York, you can freelance. So by the end of the summer, I had taken, there were several courses, a Bob Collier's Success Seminar. I believe Weiss Barron had a course at the time. And by the end of the summer, I had 20 or 30 agents I was working with. I booked a national Nike commercial. I was already after. I joined SAG. I got To Kill a Cop. And I was chomping at the bit to now be a professional actor. Little did I know how little I actually knew as an actor.
Wait, for policemen that just jumped in and you said I got To Kill a Cop, he didn't get to kill a cop. He got the show To Kill a Cop.
I played one of the police officers in the beginning of the show that was shot.
Oh, you were shot.
They stole our guns as a badge of honor. That's why it's called To Kill a Cop. And in that movie, Yaphet Kotto, James Woods starred, and David Harris, who went on to star in many movies, including the big one is The Warriors with Walter Hill. He's done so many other films.
Come out to play. I was just talking with somebody about that the other day. I love it. My wife and I we always do that. Warriors.
That was a made-up line, by the way. That was improv that he used. And secondly, I forget the guy's name who said that, but he was in a karate class with me in New York at the Sato Karate studio. Really? And I got to work with him in fight class and in classes with Kaicho Tadashi Nakamura. That was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, that's so great. So how did you end up with Lee Strasberg? Did you go to the group theater or did you train under him? No, what
happened was I was already working with Sandra.
Yeah.
I had
Sandra Seacat, can you tell me just a little bit about her? Like, did she have her own kind of acting technique or
Sandra Seacat is a known personal coach. She coaches for movies. I believe she has a place in Vermont now. Her daughter, Greta also teaches. And I was working in the method. I had studied with Patrick Fredericks before I even got to school. I started my career at PAF Playhouse on Long Island. It was the only equity theater on Long Island. I walked in the morning. I walked out with 3 scholarships and I became an apprentice. And I basically lived at the theater. I built sets. I sold tickets. I ushered. I cleaned. I did box office. And I really got into the super pure theater. And in those days, they did like Waiting for Godot, Arms in the Man, Rhinoceros, brilliant theater. And they had like Jose Ferrer would come out from New York City and do shows. I mean, the acting talent, Clem Fowler, I mean, they were brilliant. And
you were just surrounded by some of the greatest actors of the time.
That's right. Greatest repertory actors that were around. Vera Lockwood. It was just a fantastic time. And I drank it. I took every class. I watched every show. I lived it. And when I was 16, a talent scout from Trinity Square Repertory Company saw me. And I was still in high school. I was going to graduate a year early to get the heck out of school so I could go into my acting.
Yeah.
And a talent scout saw me, and I went on tour with Trinity Square Repertory's Brother to Dragons, which won a Pulitzer Prize, Robert Penn Warren. And then at the end of that run of the show of the national tour, we made a PBS special, which was the #1 special of the year, Brother to Dragons. I went to college 2 weeks late because I was shooting. And when I got there, the first class I did was with Sandra Seacat, and she says, okay, pull up a chair, everybody. We're going to listen to find out who Kim Delgado is. Now, they'd all been getting to know each other. A lot of them were for PA, the famous high school in New York where everyone went to school. And so now they wanted to see, well, who's this guy? All right.
Yeah.
So I was feeling very full of myself and very happy that I just come off a national tour. I was now a union member. And I was equity, and I was after, and I was like, yes, I just came off this national tour. I've been studying with Clint Morantz, and we have brilliant Candy Herman and really wonderful teachers there. But what I didn't know was I was going to really learn how to act at the Davis Center. I was going to be able to focus and control my instrument, which I find today I teach. I've taught at the New York Film Academy, American Academy of Dramatic and Musical Arts, AFI. I could go on.
Wow.
The problem I find with a lot of the students today is there's no suffering. There's a quote that my older brother, Gary Delgado, has said, without suffering, there can be no progress. And that's really meant for the civil rights. But I took it and made it my own. As an artist, you have to suffer to be able to grow. And I think failure is the greatest tool to learn. If you can, you move on from your failures and you build upon it to be a better artist. And my biggest quirk or problem I see the young talent coming in is they don't want to suffer.
They don't want to suffer. It's not that they don't have suffering in their life. They just don't want to suffer. Or maybe they don't want to suffer in the experience of acting. Is that what you mean? Or what do you mean by suffering?
Well, it's a combination of, I feel it's all or nothing. To be an artist, to find your voice, it's an everyday thing. It's 24/7. It isn't like, oh, well, I'll be an actor when I go to class on Thursdays and Saturdays.
Right.
No, I'm practicing Jamaica voiceover for when I have a voice audition, or I'm doing a Southerner or whatever, so that I constantly am working on being able to use my talents and techniques. Eventually, when I got older, I did ADR work, and I would go into a recording studio, and we would be the underground or background voices that you hear in movies. And there's always ADR. Yep. Sometimes the lines aren't recorded correctly on set, and they have to re-record them. And then all the background noise you hear, the crowds yelling, the police station, the terrorist firing and all that, that is added after because it's not clean dialogue. They can't separate the noise from outside. So they record it in a studio so they have control over it.
I don't think people know that all the time, that's what's happening. There's so much ADR in everything that you see, every television show. There's so much that's going on. And it's also a great business to be in if you're an actor, because you get regular work, season after season on a particular show, and it pays well, right?
Well, there's actors I know that are buying houses, but they're only doing ADR work because they don't want you running off to audition. If you're on an ADR schedule, you're going to be working for the ADR group, and that's going to be it. But that being said, I did a movie a while ago. It was a Jamaican film, and we had to walk around in a circle. It was a party. It was an international party. So I got to use Southern, English, Jamaican, my regular normal voice.
Yeah, if you're one of those people, you have to be like ready to go. They're like, we need a crowd of Jamaican people. Go. And a lot of times you'll have like a book, right? Like that with a lot of technical jargon and things. There's a lot of responsibility, right?
That people develop that have all the police call notes and signs and numbers for LA, Chicago, New York. They have all the medical stuff, all the medical terms. If they're doing a medical thing, so they can, when you hear the voiceover, you hear the overhead speaker saying, Dr. So-and-so, please report to surgery and so-and-so. They know what the actual terms are, and they're able to use them. I mean, this is a craft that they've developed. They're highly skilled. They get paid a lot of money. Now, you can imagine the amount of residuals. If you loop every week, over 10 years, you've looped like 200 jobs. You're getting residuals as long as they're union for every single show, every time it runs. So this is a great way to make a living, but you have to be dedicated and talented. And it's sort of like early in my career, I tried to do everything: voiceovers, print, stage, TV, film, industrials, voiceovers. As you get older, you have to select what you can do. Now, when I was working with Adam Lieblein, Acme Town Literary, I think, was getting me out for between 140 and 160 auditions a year regularly.
Wow.
So
great.
You might have 5 auditions in a day.
Yeah.
So you can't do everything, and you learn I'm not going to be as good unless I focus I can't memorize 5 different scripts a day, plus do this other stuff, look good. I would drive around literally in my car with 2 suits, work boots, work clothes, sports clothes, sneakers, so that I could change if I got an audition in the middle of the day. Sure, I can be there.
Yeah.
I never turned anything down. And now I can say I'm very pleased that I didn't turn things down. I have multiple pensions that I can draw on, and I need one more script sale, and I'll have a third. So I'm like, okay, that works for the long term as an artist to be able to know, hey, I'll be taken care of when I'm older because I did all that work. Some of it you don't want to do. Muggers, robbers, rapists, killers. I wasn't too fond of doing that, but there weren't a lot of roles for a young black man to do Shakespeare or do television when I started out.
I have this picture of you from this movie, and maybe you can
Boardwalk.
illuminate it. You're the one with the stick, right?
Yes, I am.
And
that
that's
was
Lee Strasberg right next to you. You kept the stick? You have the stick?
I kept the cane. Yes.
The cane.
Paco Scott Coleman is on my left. Julio Herrera, who played with Bootsy, is on the right. Ramon Franco, who's had a marvelous career, is directly behind Lee Strasberg. He was in High Mountain Rangers. He did a Vietnam show. He's done movies. He was recently in a Quentin Tarantino movie playing the theater manager in the Hollywood film with Brad Pitt and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Of course. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Mm-hmm.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So he's had a marvelous career, and it was a lot of fun to do that film because after studying method for 4 years, now I get to try doing method acting with Lee Strasberg. So in the beginning, I can remember my script was this thick because I had put all the method stuff I had learned. I'm going to do an as if here. I'm going to do a sense memory here. I'm going to do a special thing here. I'm going to do a physicalization here. And I had them all marked in my script. And Lee says, what's with your script? I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. He goes, Kim, that's homework. You do that at home. Now you just do it.
Yeah.
I would say that it was 5 years from that film before I had the technique to just be able to do it. I did a movie called Lou Pat and Joe D, and I was able to cry on cue when I needed it. There's a lot of external noise as an actor that prevents us from finding the emotions that we need when we're on set. You know, what I tell my students is, hey, it's not the same being in a safe, warm classroom where people are rooting for you to do well. On the set, there's noise, they're building stuff, you have to find your light, hit your mark. They change lines in the middle of the paragraph that you're doing. You have to watch the mic on your tie because it scratches. They don't want the noise. And it's a lot to comprehend. Now, if you're a new actor, that's a whole new ball of wax. So a lot of times actors are mad because the casting directors don't bring them in or whatever. And the casting directors figure we want people that have been there and done that, so we don't have to worry about you melting down on the set. So it's very hard to get started and get those credits that are needed, that they feel comfortable that you can even execute what you're supposed to be doing on the set.
Right, because there's so much. And when you say noise, a lot of it's external noise and some of it's just noise in here, right?
It's a combination of, have you found the character? Are you ready to go? Or do you have to act? Now, there's been so many stories about actors doing method. They take too long. They're slow. One of my favorite quotes is Dustin Hoffman was doing Marathon Man, and his co-star was a well-known English actor, and Hoffman came
Laurence
in.
Olivier.
Laurence
Olivier, right?
Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
And Hoffman came to the set. And he was all woozy, and Olivier said, "What's the matter?" He said, "Oh, I'm doing this scene where I haven't slept. I stayed awake for 2 days. I haven't slept." And he goes, "My dear fellow, have you ever tried acting?"
It's a classic story.
It's a classic story. And what it told me over the years is I've studied method. I studied with Sandy Meisner and his wife. I've studied with John Lithgow. I've had a lot of great teachers. I mix and match because you don't always have the time to reach and get what you need. Especially for the younger actors that are out there, you're getting a day player role. They're not focused on you. They're focused on the star. A lot of the time, especially for television, you're giving information. So you're there to give the information and get the hell off the set and go home. They don't have time for you to do a million takes. And half the time you're working, they're shooting over your shoulder. They're doing 2 shots and 3 shots. Maybe you get a close-up if you're lucky. They are keeping the focus on the star. So you better have it together. You better know your lines. And it's unfortunate because if you blow lines...
It's hard to be the one who comes in and does like a couple of lines because you got to come in, do it. None of the focus is on you. You got to do it. You get like very few takes and then you're kind of done. And it's like kind of a whirlwind. Whereas if you're somebody who's living in the character and also somebody that has a little bit of clout on the set, it's a different experience.
They give you all the takes you want. I mean, the first take is for camera, the second for sound, the third is for the director, and maybe, if you get a chance, you'll do another one. I did a movie with Kevin Kline called Life is a House, and
Great movie.
Winkler was the director.
Yeah.
Yes. Unfortunately, it was released at a bad time. I think it was Oscar worthy. Anyway.
Oh, definitely. And it was Darth Vader. I can't think of his name right now.
Yes. Hayden Christensen played Darth
Vader.
Hayden
Christensen, he was great. And that was one of those movies where I was like, wow, this kid can act. You know what I mean? Because it was pretty heavy. And that relationship between Kevin Kline and Hayden Christensen's characters, it was the dad and the son, and they built a house together because the son was totally rebellious and didn't like his dad and was very outspoken. And I thought it was a really nice movie.
It was a great movie. And during the shooting, we finished a take and we were done with the scene. And Erwin Winkler said, okay, hey, Kevin, is there anything else you want to do? And he said, no, I'm fine. Kim, is there anything else you want to do? And I said, well, now that you mention it, why don't we try this? He liked the idea. He said, Erwin, let's do this. And Erwin said, that's a great idea. Really? Let's do it. And we got it, and it's in the movie. And I'm thinking, well, that's cool. He didn't ask me, but he asked Kevin. And that's the way it goes. I want the younger actors to know. Kevin Kline, to me, is one of the nicest actors I've ever worked with. Smart, intelligent, and he's a nice man. I worked
really
with a
comes
lot
through
of
too. Yeah,
really so nice.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean, I try to think of myself as a nice guy. I'm a bit loud and gregarious, but I'm not demeaning to anyone.
What is your advice though to people that that want to become a working actor? Like you said, this thing about working actors, right? And Todd Lee commented, well, what's the difference between a working actor and a non-working actor? Does the non-working actor work at home? It's kind of true. The non-working actor does work at home if they're a real actor. But what was your advice to somebody who wants to get a little bit of traction to become a working actor, but because of, the way the industry is, the way you said, they need somebody that's kind of been on a lot of sets. They want somebody tried and true. You have to kind of get through that somehow.
I would start in theater and I would take class, get your instrument up to snuff. I find that a lot of the actors, now it's all self-tape and Zoom auditions. A lot of it isn't, you don't go in anymore and meet the casting director. Back in the day, you develop your personality on how to deal with producers and the callback and the directors. I call it oasis of rapport. When I booked the job for Life is a House, when I walked into the callback, I was in Erwin Winkler's conference room, and they had all the pictures from all his movies surrounding the room. So I said, "Oh, there's Goodfellas. I really love that film." And he said, "Yes, I enjoyed that movie." And I said, "But Raging Bull," which I had just seen 3 days prior, again for the 40th time. I said, "But Raging Bull is my favorite." And he stopped and he goes, "That's my favorite too." And I said, "Wait a minute, don't roll the camera. I'm not ready to audition. I want to know about the scene where Robert De Niro beats the crap out of Joe Pesci. How did you do that? It looks so real. I mean, was it written that way? What happened?" And he got all bushy-tailed and bright-eyed. And he was like, "Oh, that was a great scene. We had to pull Bobby De Niro off of Joe. We only had one shirt, and he was going off, and we couldn't ruin the shirt because we needed it again. And that was really spontaneous." Now, I booked the role. There were actors out there that had more credits. They had bigger series and stuff than I had done. But I had found the oasis of rapport with the director, his favorite scene in his favorite movie in his career, and that was it. So sometimes knowing how to talk to and be with and find that rapport is very important now. It's a lot different now because
so how do you do that now? Yeah. How do you do that now?
Very difficult. It's very
in your slate. You could be like, "Hi, I'm Joel Marshall, and I love Raging Bull." Anyway, you know what I mean? Like that's what people would do.
A lot of times that scene is ingratiating. You
Yeah,
have to be
totally.
really
It
careful
seems
about
like you're
how you
pandering.
kiss ass.
Yeah.
If you're going to kiss it, you have to do it subtly because they know what you're trying to do.
Totally.
One of my techniques when I go to when I went to callbacks, I always had a picture and resume. And I'd wait until the casting director wasn't in the line of fire. I'd say, "Oh, who's the director? Oh, you're right here." And I'd give my picture and resume. I have a lot of credits at the time. So I'd say, "Here's my picture and resume. You could use it as a dartboard. Ha ha." But really what I was doing was maybe there's a director or a show they liked or they knew the person, which would give me a slight edge. The casting directors don't want you to have the edge. They want you to be one of many, and then the person they like, they might speak up for, or if an agent is pushing them, they might speak up for that person.
Yeah.
So they're not interested in you trying to set yourself up to be a cut above the rest. You just do your job and get out of the room, and that's it. So it's very tough now for actors to find that rapport.
Well, and also to stand out, you have to do something that maybe they're seeing the same thing over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden they see something like, wow, that's interesting. Maybe you have to dig a little deeper as an actor to find something a little more,
It's difficult for the actors to know what they want. And actors are always trying to figure out, well, how is this scene played? Now, I'm a writer as well now, and I've directed and produced. So I'm looking into the writing a little differently than an actor would, but by the same token, I am an actor. So I have to say, what are they actually going to do? And what can I do that's as close as possible to what they want? Sometimes you take a chance. But to be honest with you, taking a chance, especially for small roles, isn't necessarily the good thing. And I'll tell you why. There was a movie that I had watched, and the teacher had said, "Now watch Marlon Brando." He got upgraded. He was an extra on this particular film. He was at a bar, and he was so interesting playing with a book of matches that the director had to give him a line because he was just so interesting. Yeah, well, I've tried that before and lost the role because I was too interesting. They don't want to focus on the low schlub day player. They want to focus on the star. And if you're too interesting nowadays, it takes away from what the star is doing. Back in the 40s and 30s and 50s and 60s, they surrounded brilliant actors with brilliant side actors. Now, I think they do it the other way around. They don't want somebody that's too strong because they'll upstage the level of the talent they're using. So they don't want somebody that's doing too much or stands out. Blend in, do your job, and go home. Thank you very much.
So your advice is to tell the story as specifically as the writer had written it, right?
I would think
especially when you're in like a smaller part, because you're not going for the Oscar. You're going for the telling of the story and facilitating the telling of the story.
If you can, do your 2 takes or whatever you're going to give them. And then if you want one for yourself that's wildly different, you can leave it as the last take. Yeah. Now, you have to understand that these casting directors are inundated. They're getting submissions now. It's not just like Breakdown Services can send stuff to New York, LA, Chicago. If you're in Oklahoma, if you're in Poughkeepsie, Mississippi, it doesn't matter. You can still get breakdowns through an agent, and you can submit your tape if if you get chosen to be seen. So I have to say, as an artist, how many of these are really being seen? It used to be they'd get 5,000 to 7,000 pictures per submission. So now they're still getting the same or more because of the internet, and people can submit from all over, and agents can submit, and managers can submit. You can be in Utah and submit to LA or New York.
Yeah.
Well, the idea then is, how do you watch all of those? I mean, I'm just being straight up. I mean, if you're getting,
right, how are they even watching all of them? It's a great
Are you
question.
going to watch it all? Are you going to turn it on and say, nah, not right? Yes, not right now. Some people have their assistants watch it. Some people watch it themselves. I don't have a, you know, an analysis or a report of how much time do they actually watch.
Yeah.
I wish SAG would implement that. Hey, every time you do a submission, you get to see how long it was open for and when it was open. That would be fair.
You know, I think they're working on that. Have you gotten that? I got a survey actually from Screen Actors Guild about that. Yeah. Because right now it's starting to be a little crazy, because now self-tapes are great. It's great. We love it as actors. I mean, a lot of us love it as actors because we get to put the best take, put best foot forward. We get to see exactly what we're doing, and we get to send them exactly what we expected to do. But the downside of it is a lot of times they ask you for a lot. And some of it involves, like the other day I did one where it had to be a full body shot. And it's actually very difficult to shoot an audition in a full body shot because you're way, way back here now when you do that, you know? And it makes it, and there was a lot of dialogue. And so it takes time. It takes a lot of time, and maybe sometimes a lot more time than it used to walk into an office, do your thing, and go home. But the other thing is, and so SAG is looking at ways that, you know, they can like make rules, because you also spend so much time reading the directions about what kind of slate they want. You know what I mean? Everybody wants a different slate. Everyone wants you to say different things. And they're like, don't forget to do this. And that takes up a lot of time as well.
Well,
you know?
You have another issue. They ask you sometimes to go outside to tape or walk or do this. Is like, you want me to tape outside? You want me to walk downstairs and film myself?
Now I need like a DP. I need a director of photography for my audition.
And the biggest problem is finding a reader who's competent. They don't want you to record it.
Imagine you're doing that, walking down the stairs, and your reader is trying to read the script. And this is a real situation. Like, I don't even think they realize what they're putting you through. Because now you either have to find two people.
I don't think they care. They don't care. I have friends who are casting directors, and they say, listen, it may seem harm for you, but we got to do all this work. And if you don't like it, we'll get somebody else.
Exactly. So that's the way it is. I got to admit, it's super fun, though. As somebody that's a filmmaker and somebody that likes to do these kind of things, I do enjoy doing it, but it does take up a lot of time. And I'm sure that they're going to come up with some kind of regulations about that. One of the things that I wanted to ask you, because unfortunately we only have so much time here, but why did you switch to writing? Because you're an accomplished, I mean, not switch, but why did you start writing? You're an accomplished writer, and what made you do that?
In 1998, I came to the realization, I'm a practical man. I said, well, I looked at the actors that were black that were in my category, and I said, most of them are very dark skinned. I lost a lot of roles because when they hire a black actor, they want someone who is dark. They want nappy hair. And a lot of the roles I lost wasn't necessarily because of my acting. It was because the type that I portrayed wasn't what they were selling for the black man of today.
We were saying that it's they want to put you in some kind of box, and if you don't fit exactly in that box, then you're screwed. So, yeah.
I had written some treatments, but I didn't have a voice. Dialogue, very important. And a guy I knew who was an Olympic gold medalist told me his life story. And I met another guy that had another story. And I said, I could write these. And I brought a guy on to help me write the first draft. And then I got a writing program because I didn't have a writing program. And then I was off to the races. So while I was acting, I was learning to write. It took me 10 years to sell my first project. Now, I got to write on some stuff that was little, or, I did like 100 commercials, which I didn't really count. I mean, it's advertising, but I still was selling my writing talents on, all sorts of different Toro lawn trimmer and cars, because I had a contact that was a head of an agency and they liked my writing. And it was easy for me to write that 30 seconds or 1 minute spot. I started with my first film. I wrote Ramp Rats in 1999. It was optioned. And then I didn't look back. I wrote from Ramp Rats, Dreams of Gold, many, many more. And it took me 10 years to sell my first movie, which was Taken in Broad Daylight, which
is that the yeah, that's the one that's like the most successful Lifetime movie.
Third most successful Lifetime movie.
Really? Wow.
and that was a very interesting experience. I worked with a producer named Charlene Blaine, and from there I started writing other stuff. I'm a consummate hustler, so I met a gentleman at Lionsgate, and I wrote a project. It was the new. Now it's called Sunrise, San Francisco Sunrise, and it was to be the new
Streets of San Francisco, right?
Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah.
And, they haven't done it yet, but, I started getting writing gigs, and I have a nice portfolio of material now. Writing is rewriting, and anybody that wants to write, never send an original draft, not even the second or third draft. Really, you need to go out and you need to squeeze it until it's great, and then they want to make it better. Plus, as a writer now, I realized
squeeze it. Wait, can you say that again? Squeeze it.
Squeeze it. That means if you have a joke, it's got to be a joke that a star could tell.
Yeah.
If your dialogue is supposed to be dangerous, or you better make sure that it's dangerous and there's foreboding and there's tension. So writers hate notes, and I do too. And I've come to the point in my career where I love to get notes, because even if I find a granule, I can use it later on in my next rewrite. And a friend of mine in New York, Catherine Clark, has written. She was one of my first script doctors. And she gave me some information. I have a project called Stone's Law, which is under option, with a gentleman named Joe Sabatino, who had Necessary Roughness. That was his show.
Yeah.
And we wrote this thing about Barry Levin, who's a New York mafia lawyer. And she read the script. She said, this is a good script, but you should meld the opening scene with the other 3 scenes that follow it. And that was great advice. So we start the show where this lawyer gets off at this boxing place in the Bronx, and he walks in, and then we intercut the killings that happen that are the inciting incident for the show. He's challenged to a boxing match, and Barry Levin was a 2-time champion. He was a Golden Gloves champion, and he was a boxing champion for the Battle of the Big Apple. And in between him showing this youngster that he doesn't know how to box, he knows how to box, and the youngster doesn't, we have the killings, which opens the show, shows that he's a boxer, shows that he's a lawyer, and it also shows that there's been these killings, and they're going to be the inciting incident for this lawyer to start his first law case in his career. So it was great. So you have to listen, you take what works, you let go what doesn't. And you have to be the judge of that yourself. Now, if they're paying you, whatever they say, they're paying you, you got to do it. Shut up, don't be difficult. Get it done and figure out a way to incorporate what they're saying into the work.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
And also a lot of times, they do know better than you, because they know what their demographic likes. They know, they have experience with previous scripts and what went wrong and what didn't, and that kind of thing. So sometimes what you have in your head might not work for their particular needs. And you might not understand that because you haven't been walking that walk. So sometimes I think it's true. You have to put yourself in other people's shoes and say, okay, let's see that. Let's do this. Let's see what happens. Yeah.
That's true. And then on the other side, the other flip of the coin, there's a lot of people, the suits, that are in executive or creative positions, and they want their thumbprint on your script. They want to say, oh, I thought of that. And it doesn't matter if it's stupid. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense. You just have to end up doing it. And Joe was a great mentor, because I had written alone for a long time, and I'd written features. When I started writing television, it's a collaborative effort, and you really have to get off your high horse. Even if you're right, it's like, nope, we got to figure out a way to take this note and make it work in this project.
Cappy Adiship says, did you just say that, dude? Not everything you think should be said aloud. Yes, maybe it should be. Maybe these things should be. No, but I think that that's true about executives, that, it takes a long time to get yourself to an executive position at one of these places, in a position of power, but you also want to feel like you're, adding something creative to the show. And sometimes,
again, not all the creatives are artists. They're suits.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the stuff that comes from their side is, that's too expensive. We don't want to do that. We don't want to pay for that.
Oh, that's
And you're like, yeah, but it's great. Okay, think of something else that's just as good that doesn't cost as much.
So it's
So
practical. It's
their
practical.
ideas are not necessarily grounded in moving the story, plot, and theme forward. It's grounded sometimes in the financial interest of the project.
Yeah.
So, there's a balance that has to be struck. The dichotomy between art and business, especially in television. In features, you have a little more leeway. Although in most projects, that stuff's getting rewritten as you're shooting.
Yeah.
A star doesn't like this monologue. The producers or someone says, the agent said, oh, this isn't going to work for my client. I don't like that. And there's changes. I remember doing CSI, and the redhead on the show didn't like the way the scene was, so they rewrote it. She went back in her trailer and had her assistant go over the new lines, and I had to learn them all by myself, outside, with no help. Now, if you're a professional, you got to get it together, and you got to get it together quick because you can't be blowing lines. You got 2 pages of dialogue. They're paying you. You want to be a professional. And I always go with the thought that I want to be as good as I can. I want to be the best Kim Delgado that I can be on the set as an actor. Yeah. So it makes it difficult because now you're sweating because you got to get the line.
What do you do in that situation? Okay, so I sometimes I find that, you get in a stressful situation like that, your mind starts going off in all kinds of different directions. It's really hard to focus. How do you focus?
I'd say 99% of the time I have a laser focus. There have been times, I did a show and I shot my stuff in the morning, and then I went to have lunch, and it was great lunch. It was like the 5th season, so they had steak, shrimp, everything. So I ate my fill, and they put a bag over me. I was playing a cop. And then I took off the bag. It was like 95 degrees. We were shooting downtown. And I was in my boxers and my T-shirt and my trailer. I said, what the hell are they keeping me here for? I did my big scene this morning. And I went and got a script because they didn't have short sides like they normally have on the show.
Yeah.
Right, the short one, so you can carry them with me. So I got the new script, and I realized I had auditioned for the patrol sergeant, but they had put the desk sergeant together with the patrol sergeant.
Oh, they merged them. And you didn't know.
I didn't know. So it's 10 minutes before lunch is over. I said, well, I'm Kim Delgado. I can learn this. Haha, I've been doing this forever. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I ate all that food. It was 95 degrees out, and I went to shoot. It took me 18 takes, and the director was pissed off. Plus, in that there was a little monologue in the police stuff where I had a there, and there.
Yeah.
Terrible writing, hard to do and hard to make sense of. So I changed it a little so that I could get it out evenly. But the script supervisor was not having it, and they wanted word for word. That's why it took me 18 takes. It would have been fine the way it was. And afterward, I told the director, hey, I'm really sorry. This isn't the way I usually work. And he got really mad. He said, we have 115 people on the set. You're holding up the whole crew. It costs money, blah, blah, blah. Normally, I should have said, hey, you didn't have short sides on the set. You didn't send me a script to my house. I had the audition script. That's by SAG rules. I'm supposed to get the script. And third, I didn't even know I was doing this till 10 minutes after I ate lunch. So that's on you. That is not me, but I didn't say that.
No,
I just shut up and ate it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a time to open your mouth, and there's a time to just be humble, It's like, okay, I want to work again. Hopefully this guy won't, badmouth me to the casting director, and I will be able to come back. I mean, that was
what did you do in the moment, though, when that pressure's on and you're trying to do this thing and it's 18 takes, and did you like breathe or meditate, or what? Is there anything that you have to get yourself back into? I don't know. Look at your shoes.
That particular situation, the harder I tried, the more I sweat. Now imagine you're sweating profusely.
Yeah.
You have movement. You have to hit your marks and find the camera. They're shooting with multiple cameras. They want you to turn at a particular time, and you don't know these lines. So you're really cranking it in your brain to make it all happen at once. And, you're like, you don't want to be, you're embarrassed. I don't like being embarrassed. I like being,
you like to be prepared too. You like to do your work on the script or whatever, and then let it go. And then get in there and really be free. And in this particular case, you're trying to do the work at the same time. Just like
That's
Strasberg
right.
said, you
And
can't be doing the work at the same time.
you got to let it fly. So,
Yeah.
there's been other times as I've gotten older, I've learned I have an ear prompter. Cost $1,000, and I use it for auditions because I've gotten good enough. I've done at least 100 industrials, and I bought the ear prompter because when you have a 60, 80 page script talking about, the burn temperatures and the ratios of, the polyethylene urethane that burns at such and such a temperature.
Right.
It's hard. It's not
It's
words
impossible.
you use every day. So
Yeah.
the prompter allows me to wear the earpiece. There's a neck loop, and there's a little controller that I wear under my watch. I can press it like Spider-Man, and I can start and stop the prompter. And it's easy. It comes in my ear, and I spit it out, and it's very natural. Now, there's a lot of actors that get very wooden. They're like, then the fire went. No, you have to be practice with it. So you
have to be good at it. Like Brando used to, there's that whole thing about how he would put his lines all over the inside of the car or whatever.
He used big oak tag cards and stuff.
But he could do it. There's lots of people that couldn't do that, He just found the method that worked for him the best. And I think that's what we do with auditions and everything is we find the method that works for us the best. And we find the acting method that works for us best, all the different tools from the different places that work for you. Because
Johnny Depp uses an earpiece. Bruce Willis was, towards the end of his career. Directors and producers want you to memorize it because it's easier for them. They don't have to wait for you if you rewind the tape recorder and this, that, and the other. The problem is if you're not a star, you just got to go and bust it out. Now, I've used it on the set before when I didn't have time to learn a judge's speech. And I'm like, okay, they're not going to. I booked the show and I figured, okay, they're not going to do the judge's closing right away. No way. I'll learn the whole show because it was a big show for me. Yeah. But I'll record it on my prompter just in case. Well, wouldn't you know it? First up, we're going to do the closing judge.
Of course. It's never what you think it's going to be.
Right. So the makeup girl's doing this. She goes, "Is that?" And I'm like, "Shh." I did it. And it was the Tony Danza show. And I can remember at the end of when I did my takes, because I had it recorded multiple times so that we could do 3 takes. And it was a long ass monologue.
That's some technical work to get that together too.
Right. So we did several takes and I did it. Remember, with the ear prompter, there's no flubbing. There's no nothing unless your lips get stuck or your tongue gets dry or something. Yeah. I did it perfectly. And Tony Danza said, "Finally, we have an actor that knows his lines."
Yeah.
And I just thought, yeah.
Well, I mean, you know what? You made it easier for them to shoot. They could do a lot less takes and not have you, stumbling through it. Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, so
in general, though, I suggest people learn your lines.
Yeah, obviously, the best thing to do is to learn your lines. But you got to do what you can do. You got to do what you can do.
You got to do what you can do.
Yeah, and you know what? All of this is illusion. Anyway, I'm not sitting in this beautiful dojo here, so it's all technical illusion what we do, and that's kind of the fun of it. So we have to end the show, unfortunately. I have some things like there's this. You have these shows. I'm not going to end it right away because I just want to ask you about this. You have these shows that you're pitching, right? And you make pitch decks and you make scripts. And I know, Gene, you said this earlier, it's kind of hard to get people to actually read the script. Just like we were talking about you send in an audition or whatever. Reading a script is even more time consuming and needs a lot of focus. So what is the way you get the attention for the things that you want to do?
Well, nowadays, my literary agents, I've had many. I have both the last 2 literary agents. If you don't have a pitch deck, they won't send the script out. And a lot of times now they're just sending log lines. So it's come to the point where a lot of the companies want proof of concept. So you make a little sizzle reel. Now, I always tell people, don't bother with a sizzle reel unless it's network quality. If you can't show it on HBO or CBS, don't bother. Because all they're going to do is look down their nose and say, you're at a
disadvantage. Yeah, you're at a total disadvantage because you don't have the tools. Yeah.
So if you make a pitch deck, it's a little different. In a pitch deck, you put your synopsis, your log line, the major character descriptions, and then you might have your targeted cast that you want for the show. So you have who you're thinking about playing the roles.
Yeah.
You'll have comparables for this budget in this genre made, and you find the biggest money-making films, and you put that in your at least 4 comparisons. You'll have your bio and anybody else you're working with. You'll have the tone of the show. If it's a television or feature film, you'll talk about the way you want it shot and the kind of style or stylistic that you're looking for. Now, this will give them the idea of what the overall product will look like. Maybe if they like the pictures and the stuff that you put in there, they'll read your script. I never make a pitch deck longer than 12 pages. I've seen 65, 68, 70-page pitch decks. Nobody's going to read all that.
It just defeats the purpose of a pitch deck, really. Okay,
Right,
so you have the I just want to say this one thing. You have this skate hard sizzle reel.
Yes.
You know that one? I wanted to show it. Can you tell me a little bit about that just as an example? I wanted to show it because I can show this one because it doesn't have music on it, and I've got the accompaniment of Fernando Ufret to cover the music that you had on it, and I would like to show it and tell me about it first before we
Skate Hard is 4 kids, 2 white kids, a black kid, and a Latino, and a dog. One of the kids gets superpowers. Our lead actor has to learn how to skateboard, win the skate competition in the neighborhood, and get the girl by the end of the movie. And then this is a trilogy. Now, I wrote a script, a stunt coordinator named Mark Riccardi, who is now a producer and stunt coordinator. He took me into Magic Lantern, and I was thinking about doing it as a cartoon. I started it as a cartoon, and they said, well, we'd love to see a live action script. Well, I went home and I wrote a live action script. A couple months later, I went in, he gave me some notes, I rewrote it, and then they dropped the project because they were doing other materials. So I continued to write that script and redo it until COVID came, and I said, you know what? I met a comic book woman, and she said this would make a great comic. So I spent my own money, and I broke the script down into 11 comic books, and I had them from soup to nuts, made a Skate Hard comic book. So now I have ancillary material to sell. And then on top of that, I took some of the comic book and I put music to it, and I made an animation sizzle reel. I also paid for just a tiny bit of animation, which was very expensive in the thing. So now I have a live action pitch deck, an animation pitch deck, and a sizzle reel for the animation, plus the script, plus a business plan, plus budget. So this is a big project that we're now shopping, actually, with the good Lord looking down. It's currently, I'm waiting for Lionsgate to get back to me. They've had it for a couple of weeks, and I'm supposed to have a meeting. So, you have to expand your materials continually. You have to rewrite your materials continually. Last year, I met a director named Vivka Mosiah, and I worked on several projects because, it's COVID, and I did rewrites because she had great notes, and it was for free. I don't do rewrites for free, but these notes
were good.
Really good.
Really.
And so you continue to make your projects better so that when you get your shot, you're ready to go. And with Skate Hard now, it's had 28 rewrites. I got the option back from Magic Lantern, and I'm looking to be one of the producers to get it set up.
All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play the sizzle reel, if that's okay. That's okay, right? That's
yeah.
And I'm going to have the accompaniment of Fernando Ufret, which is playing the music that was on the sizzle reel as a cover. And that's going to be our dance break for the end of the show. And we'll be down there in the bottom, and we'll listen to this. And then I would love to have you on the show again, because there's so much more information, so many other things that I want to ask you. But hopefully we'll do that in the future if you can do it.
Great.
I want to say thank you so much for being on the show, because it was very informative for me. I'm sure for people out there as well, on a lot of different levels. So thank you very much.
I want to say to everybody who's listening, everybody who's out there, live your dreams. They won't come back tomorrow. Live them today.
Oh, I like that. Don't wait. Okay, here we go. All right, here we are. I'm going to bring you on. I don't know what happened with that, but we're back. This is the Sizzle Reel. Are these stills from the comic books themselves?
These stills are from the comic book, and you saw a little bit of animation, only a few seconds.
That was the expensive animation.
Gives you an overview of the characters and what they're doing.
It looks cool. Now, you have kids, right?
Yes, I do. Young adults, both living in New York. My son's getting his master's at Rochester University. This time he's involved in the center. And my daughter is working in New York, currently working for a company doing branding, research, and analysis for influencers, celebrities, and
Cool. Did you consult with kids on this when you made this? Because it's got
this is based on them.
Yeah.
The dialogue, it's their dialogue. The little sister's the foil. She was the foil. My son was a skateboarder. And, I saw him doing his skateboarding, and I said, oh, I could write something about this. So I did.
I love the animation, too. It's really well done. I mean,
my guy Sergio Medina is fantastic, and I would bring him onto the animated series. We have the series, we have the movie, we have the video game. It's a big project, and I'm excited. I'm talking to a studio in Georgia. We'll just see who comes up with the money first.
All right, thanks again for being on the show.
My pleasure.
This has been Lunch Therapy, Interview Friday with Kim Delgado.
Good.